Imagine this. You're being sued by somebody for defamation, and it's a slam dunk case for you and your defense. The facts are on your side. The law is on your side. And even the judge that's relevant in the case is on your side. But instead of fighting it, you just hand your opponent a trophy and say, okay, you win. That's exactly what ABC News did by settling a defamation lawsuit with Donald Trump. They agreed to pay $15 million to Donald Trump's presidential library rather than standing their ground. But here's the kicker. They were right the whole time. They had every reason to win this case. So why did they cave? And what does this say about how easily Donald Trump can bully the media into capitulating? Well, stick with me and we're going to break down why ABC News didn't have to cave, how what Donald Trump did in the E. Jean Carroll case could absolutely be considered rape in just about every other context, and why this is a very dangerous precedent to be set. All right, so here's some backstory. In 2024, George Stephanopoulos went on the air and said that Donald Trump had been found liable for rape in the E. Jean Carroll case.
The judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape.
And Trump, being the big baby that he is, didn't like that, so he sued for defamation. Now, technically, Stephanopoulos did get one detail wrong. The jury in Carroll's case didn't find Donald Trump liable for rape. But this is according to the very strict, narrow, and archaic definition under New York state law. They did find Donald Trump guilty of sexual abuse and defamation. But here's the thing. Under any normal definition of the word rape, what Trump did to Carroll would have been considered rape. And we'll get into that in just a second. But instead of sticking to their guns and defending their anchor, George Stephanopoulos, ABC News settled. They agreed to cough up $15 million to Donald Trump and an additional $1 million in legal fees. Basically, they paid Donald Trump to go away, but in doing so, they handed this man a huge PR win that he didn't deserve. Now let's look at what E. Jean Carroll actually said that Donald Trump did to her. She said that Donald Trump shoved her against the wall in a dressing room, that he forcibly shoved his mouth onto hers. Gross, I know. That he pulled down her tights, he put his fingers inside of her, and then shoved his penis inside of her. I mean, God, whatever you call that, that's terrible, especially with a doofus-looking, disgusting pig like Donald Trump. And if you'd heard that story outside of a courtroom or in many other states, that would be considered rape. Even Judge Lewis Kaplan, who presided over the case, said that the only reason Donald Trump wasn't found liable for rape was because New York's legal definition of rape is ridiculously narrow. It requires vaginal penetration with a penis. Anything else, no matter how violent or violating it is classified legally as sexual abuse. In his ruling, Judge Kaplan said the definition of rape in the state code is far narrower than how rape is defined in common parlance. And in the courtroom, he got off on a technicality. Translation: in the real world, using common definition of rape, it would mean that what Donald Trump did to E. Jean Carroll, assuming that it's true because the jury said that it was, then you could consider that rape by other standards. So Stephanopoulos wasn't wrong in the way that it mattered. He wasn't trying to smear Trump with a lie. He was reflecting the spirit of the verdict, which is that Trump did something deeply violating and violent against a female. But Trump took that technicality, turned it into a lawsuit, and bullied ABC into submission. But you see, defamation lawsuits aren't about just getting something wrong. You have to prove malicious intent, that the person who said the thing that was wrong was deliberately trying to hurt you. But Stephanopoulos wasn't lying. He was reporting facts of a case where the verdict aligned with the common definition of rape, even if it didn't align with the New York State's version of that word. So why in the hell would they fold? Because Donald Trump's strategy has never been about being right. It's about exhausting his opponents. He weaponizes lawsuits to make things exhaustive and messy so that people give up even when they're right. He even did it to the U.S. government. ABC didn't want the spectacle of a long, drawn-out court battle with a sitting president, which he will be soon. They didn't want the headlines, oh, fake news, so they wrote a check and walked away. But by doing that, ABC News just gave this dude fuel for more fires. Now Donald Trump and his cult members can turn around and say, see, I told you the media lies and that they were lying about me and it was a witch hunt and they were trying to smear my name and I didn't do anything wrong. Ooh. As per usual, Donald Trump is the biggest windbag I've ever seen in politics. The biggest crybaby. Now, this isn't just about ABC. This is about what happens when the media backs down to bullies like Donald Trump. Every time a news outlet caves, it sends a message that the truth is negotiable. That if you yell loud enough and sue often enough or smear your critics relentlessly, you can just completely rewrite history and reality altogether. I mean, think about it. Donald Trump has made wild, defamatory claims about his opponents for years. He's called journalists enemies of the people. He accused Hillary Clinton of being a criminal, even though, by the legal definition, she is not. And if those statements were held to the same standard as apparently everybody else gets held to, Donald Trump would be shelling out money to all of these people. But as I said, he's the biggest windbag in the history of politics. And anytime somebody says something that hurts his little feelings, he's going to go sue. I'm a billionaire and I could sue you if you say something I don't like. Because he's a crybaby. He's the biggest snowflake ever. And he doesn't get held to that same standard. Instead, he uses court to silence his critics. He's been doing it his entire life. Roy Cohn taught him this. And it works because major media outlets like ABC let it work. By settling, ABC gave Donald Trump a narrative victory. They gave him more fuel for the fake news charade that he's been peddling around for the last 8 years. They just made it easier for him to intimidate the press. They've also empowered others to do the same exact thing. I imagine you'll start seeing defamation lawsuits pop up all over the place because if you can't beat the truth, you can sue it into the ground. Now, ABC might have saved them a headache, but they lost something a lot bigger than that. Their credibility. By giving in, they didn't just give Donald Trump $15 million. They gave him a win that he didn't deserve, that he had no right to. If we want to live in a world where facts matter and the truth matters, we need journalists and media organizations who are willing to fight for it, not cowards and capitulators. As I've said on this channel many, many times before, the first thing that an authoritarian dictator is going to do is go after the media and suing all of them into the ground, making them lose credibility and that they give up and they're just like, oh God, Donald Trump always wins. Let's just get it over with. By doing that, it gives him more power over the media and you're going to start seeing them all fall in line. That's his goal. That's what he's trying to do. The media takeover of Donald Trump won't look like necessarily the media takeover from Adolf Hitler, but the outcome is exactly the same. If you care about holding power accountable and about fighting for the truth, then please share this video and subscribe to the channel. We have to remind everybody else that the truth is worth standing up for, and we need people with courage to continue to do it because apparently the mainstream media has lost their backbone from 8 years of Donald Trump's bullying, crybaby, windbag bullshit. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it. This is the Liberal Loudmouth, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.